Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for World Cup Fantasy content. My name is Dan and it is almost time to solidify our match day for teams. We've got unlimited transfers to use. We need to start thinking about who are good players and who are bad players. So I thought I'd do a match day 4 tier list video for you guys today. Hopefully rank some of the players that you guys are talking about and you guys are thinking about. If you do enjoy this one, please do leave a like. It really does help out the channel so much. Massive appreciation. And do subscribe if you want more World Cup Fantasy content, guys. But let's have a look at this tier list. So we're going to do a real variety of players today, guys. A real variety. I've tried to pick players from most teams, and I am recording this before the Brazil game is finished. So there's still a couple of games to go whilst I record this, but you know, hopefully we have most of the information now anyway. We've got 5 categories: must-haves, great options, optionals, mez, and avoids. Let's start off straight away with some Netherlands players, I think. And I'm going to start you off actually with Gakpo. So Gakpo, I'm going to put him in somewhere between optional and a great option. He has been on absolute fire. It's difficult to say that he is a bad option, so I think we definitely need to rank him quite highly. We have got a lot of players, so I'm going to go fairly quickly, but Gakpo certainly has been really clinical. He's got a nice game against USA next, which is one of the better games of this round of the tournament. And as I keep saying in these match day 4 videos, listen, there is no such thing as an easy game at this stage of the tournament, but that doesn't mean that some games are not going to be easier than others. Some oppositions are going to be easier than others when we're comparing them, you know, your opposition to, you know, USA, or would you rather play USA or France or Brazil or Spain, you know? When you look at it like that, Gakpo has a good fixture, so I just wanted to add that caveat there. I'm going to add in Bergwijn next, who I think is probably going to be an avoid. I don't think he is going to start in this game. If we get new information suggesting that he is going to start in this game against USA, then I think that actually does move him up, probably into the optional category for 7 million. If he's playing as a forward, then I think that could actually be quite good. But for now, I guess we put him in an avoid because we don't really think he's going to start in this next game. So definitely you don't want to be going for players who aren't even starting. Maybe we move him into Meh, because I guess there's a small chance that he does start. And remember, guys, you are going to have plenty of transfers to use mid-match day, so do feel free to take a couple of risks, but this one seems a little bit too much for me. Denzel Dumfries, I'm actually going to put in optional. He's 6 million, which is quite a lot of money. I do think that the Netherlands have a good chance of a clean sheet because I don't think the USA have provided too much in terms of an attack in this competition so far. But at the same time, Dumfries is very expensive. It hasn't quite clicked for attacking returns for him yet. It could still happen. You know, we know he's got a very good record for attacking returns for the Netherlands, but hasn't quite clicked yet. Could this match day be the one? Not sure. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But for 6 million, you are taking a bit of a risk there. Christian Pulisic, I'm going to put in probably the meh category. One, because I think Netherlands will probably win, and we do have to be conscious about picking players we think are going to go further in the tournament. But also, again, I just don't feel like there's been too much of an attack going on from the USA. But if it's going to be anyone, it is going to be Pulisic. So if I had to pick just one USA player, it would be this guy, but at the same time, you know, it's not really something I'd be confident in. Like, it is a real risk to go for Pulisic. If you want to take that risk, fine, but it's difficult to recommend a player like that. Let's move on to some Argentina players next, and we'll put Messi in the must-have category. He is doing really well. You know, he's actually looking really good in this World Cup tournament, isn't he? And he's playing his game up next against Australia, which we do consider Australia to be possibly one of the weakest teams remaining in the tournament. They've done very well to make it this far, of course, but at the same time, Argentina and Messi, we are expecting them to go there and score a few goals against them. And if anyone is scoring goals, if anyone is getting assists, it is going to be Messi. He's involved in absolutely everything at the moment for Argentina, and he's going to be on all those set pieces as well, which is pretty nice. Let's add some more Argentina players to the mix, and I'm going to put Di Maria in here as an optional player. I don't think he is as much of a must-have as he was previously in the tournament. We have seen that he's not quite doing as much as we hoped, and 8.5 million is a lot. And seriously, guys, at this stage of the tournament, we really do need to be stricter on our budget, just because, you know, we're going to have to pick players from France and Argentina and Brazil and Spain and England, and all of these players are so expensive from these teams, so we do have to try and cut some corners somewhere. Otherwise, 100 million is just not going to be enough budget to have 15 players in your squad. You really are going to have to, you know, try and find some bargains here. And Di Maria is just not a bargain. It hasn't quite worked out for him in the World Cup. He's done okay, and he is providing chances for his teammates. He is creating chances, and he is picking up, you know, key pass points and getting very close on tackle points as well, which is kind of interesting. But at the same time, how confident am I in Di Maria? I definitely think he's an option, but I don't think he is as much of a must-have as perhaps we thought he was previously. Alvarez, I know a lot of people are talking about him. I think I have to probably put him in the avoid/meh category. I don't think he's going to start, but I think there is a chance that he starts, I guess. So, you know, again, if he starts, he's going to be a real good bargain for you, but I don't think that's very likely. But if that changes, again, all of these picks, they do have caveats, unfortunately. Until we know who is in the starting lineups, that can actually change a lot of how we would rank players in the tier list. But I don't think Alvarez is going to start. I think Martinez is going to get the nod ahead of him. And if so, you know, obviously you don't want to play who's bench, but 6.5 million, hey, that could be an interesting option as a forward. But again, another thing is that forwards, you know, we really do have to be so careful who we're picking in our forward slots, because we've got a couple of players who are basically must-haves. And then after that, we really, you know, we have technically 3 forward slots, but in many ways, we only have 1 forward slot, because you're going to pick Messi more than likely, and you're going to pick Mbappe as well. Must have. Again, I'm going to put him actually ahead of Messi. He has had that rest, which is really nice. And yeah, he's also got a very nice fixture against Poland, who, you know, Poland have conceded a decent amount of chances in this tournament. It has to be said. They've perhaps been a little bit unlucky to have not conceded more goals than they have done in this tournament. And Mbappe is probably going to be licking his lips at that fixture, thinking, hey, I want to get the golden boot in this tournament. This is going to be, you know, a real nice opportunity to get a couple of goals. This guy is absolutely magic. He is, you know, probably the best player in this tournament, if we're completely honest, are we? So, yeah, he's going to be a must-have player. So, you see what I'm kind of saying here, guys? We've got Mbappe must-have. We've got Messi must-have. It's really difficult. Who are you going to pick for your third forward? We've already got Gakpo in here. Alvarez is a minute's risk. We're going to add some more forwards in here, which I think are also options. But certainly Mbappe is going to be up there in terms of our priority list. And I'm going to put Giroud up here as well. Kind of probably level with Gakpo, maybe slightly ahead. I think the thing that's stopping me from putting Giroud, you know, it's definitely ahead of Gakpo, is that he is that 0.5 million cheaper. If they were both 7 million, I would be going for Giroud. If you can afford 0.5 to upgrade a Gakpo to a Giroud, I would really think about doing it. Again, very nice fixture. Giroud is obviously very, very clinical, which is what we like about him. He's going to be leading the line for France against Poland, and he's had that nice rest in matchday 3 as well, so he could be pretty decent. Theo Hernandez, I think, is almost in the must-have category. He's certainly better than these other options in the great options. I really am struggling to see a way of making a World Cup Fantasy matchday 4 team without Theo Hernandez in it. So I guess he's a must-have. Like, I can't, you know, would any of you guys dare go without him? He is nailed on at left back. He's probably going to play every game for France for the rest of the tournament. We're expecting France to go very far. We've seen how creative he has been in this tournament, and in club football as well. He's a very creative player. He's got no competition for his place. He is only 5 million, which is super, super cheap, and we expect there's a good chance that France will keep some clean sheets between now and the end of the tournament as well. So overall, it seems like an absolute no-brainer to go for Theo Hernandez. So I'm going to put him in the must-have category. Now, there's some players that I'm going to put a little bit lower now. So first of all, Trippier is going to be an avoid for me, just because I don't think he is nailed on to start. I think Kyle Walker is probably the favoured player. Certainly for this round of 16 game, I think that Kyle Walker will probably play as part of a back 4. If England were to go to a back 5, then maybe Trippier or Trent Alexander-Arnold do come into that team. But for now, I think it is going to be Kyle Walker time, and we won't probably see many minutes from Trippier anymore. Of course, I could be wrong about this. You never know. Rotation is a wild beast indeed, but I don't expect Trippier to play in this next match. And I don't think he's actually played too well in his opening 2 fixtures for England. So Kyle Walker's performance in matchday 3 is probably going to give Gareth Southgate something to think about. Maybe, you know, Walker is going to be the favoured man. He has been historically. Next up, we've got Harry Kane, who I think is arguably an avoid as well. I'm going to put him in the meh category. I wish I could put him a little bit higher, but I just feel like it's very difficult. If you're going to go for Mbappe, you're going to go for Messi, how on earth are you going to find the budget to go for Kane as well? It's going to be very difficult, particularly when Kane is not really scoring at the moment. He's playing well. He's providing for his teammates. I don't want anyone to say here that Kane is having a bad tournament, because I don't think that's true. The problem is he's not scoring goals, and he's very, very expensive in the World Cup Fantasy game, which leads us to kind of say, do we want to go for him? I'm not sure. At the same time, Senegal are not going to be easy to score a lot of goals against. I think that England may start playing within themselves a little bit and trying to, you know, just grind through this tournament rather than playing expansive, expressive football, which means that there's probably going to be less opportunities to score. Don't get me wrong, I think Kane could do the business, but are you going to pick him ahead of Mbappe? No. Are you going to pick him ahead of Messi? No. And therefore, he is going to be a meh. He's a really interesting differential. He's not an avoid, but he's not someone I'd be too willing to pick up, to be honest. Saka, I like. I think he will start in this next match, to be honest, against Senegal. And, you know, we need to pick up some midfielders. Midfielders are very, very hard to pick. We want to go for those midfielders that we think are attacking. And Saka is definitely that player, you know, and he did very well in that opening fixture. Not so much in matchday 2 against USA, but did very, very well against Iran. And we really like what we saw again from him. He's the only natural right-sided attacker, I would say, in this England squad. There are some other players that can fill in there, but Saka is a true right winger, whereas some of the other players will be kind of playing slightly out of position. I think all of the other wingers for England probably would prefer to play on the left-hand side. And therefore, Saka, with the energy he has, you know, I feel like he is going to be a really good player for Southgate to line up with against Senegal. So certainly he's going to be playing, I think. And I think if he is going to be up there and amongst the attacking areas, potential for goals and assists as well. Foden, I think if he plays, he could be good, but I'm not 100% he's going to start. I think there's a good chance that he starts. I like that he's listed as a midfielder, but it is a really risky one. Before knowing if Foden is going to start, I'm not sure if I'd be willing to go for him. But hey, you never know. It could be an option. If he starts, it could be really nice. Rashford, I'm going to put down in the avoid category. I don't think he's going to start. I don't think he's going to have too many opportunities to get goals, even if he does start. I don't think he's good for 90 minutes if he does start. And at the same time, I also feel like, you know, again, he's a forward. Have we got room in our squads to go for super minutes risky forwards in tough games against top teams, when there are other options like Giroud, like Gakpo at a similar price or maybe even cheaper? Can we go for Rashford? I know it's romantic. A lot of people will be saying we absolutely must go for Rashford, particularly if you're English and you're a Manchester United fan and you're loving the storyline. I love the storyline too. I really do. But at the same time, it seems too risky to waste one of your forward slots on Rashford, so I'm going to have to put him in the avoid category, unfortunately. Morata, I actually don't mind. I think he's an optional player. In fact, I'm going to put him, like, I don't know, somewhere around here. You know, again, he's a forward, so he's going to be occupying that third forward slot. I think he's pretty much nailed himself on after some good performances for Spain, scoring in every game for them. You know, Spain's top scorer. It's very obvious now that Spain do need to play with a striker, and Morata is that, you know, natural striker in that team that really takes them to the next level in many ways. So I do think he is going to be an important player for Spain going into the next round of the tournament. The opposition is Morocco, which is a difficult one. You know, Morocco have been keeping it very tight at the back, not conceding too many chances. But at the same time, we are expecting Spain to do well in this tournament. They have been one of the stronger teams. I know you probably don't think, you know, that Japan game maybe, you know, changed your mind a little bit about Spain, but we do like the look of Spain. They have been playing some very nice football, and overall, I feel like we maybe want to go for some Spain players. Is Morata the answer? Maybe. Dani Olmo, I know a lot of people will be talking about him as well. He seems to be pretty nailed on. I'm going to put him in a similar areas to Morata. He's listed as a midfielder. 8 million is kind of expensive, but, you know, it's not like mega bucks, I guess. So Olmo, I guess he's going to be an option as well, but I don't think he's a must-have or anything like that. Alba for Spain as well, again against Morocco. Can Spain keep a clean sheet? I think they can. I think Alba is actually going to go in the great option category. I think of all of the 6 million defenders, I like Alba the most. He's had his rest in matchday 3 as well, which is going to be really, really important. And he's going to be taking that energy for the rest of the tournament. He's going to be really nailed on in these knockout fixtures, I think. And if the further Spain go, the more Alba is going to be involved. He's going to be taking shots. He's going to be creating chances for his teammates. He's going to be guessing in the box. There's lots of good stuff to like about Alba. So much so, I'm actually going to... You know what? I'm actually going to put him right up here. I'm going to put him right up here. I think he's a really nice pick. Sice, just to include a Morocco player, Sice has obviously been scoring very well in World Cup Fantasy, but I don't think I'd be going for him. Unless you really do think that Morocco can beat Spain and go through to the next round. I guess there's a chance, but even if they do, are they going to be keeping clean sheets? Probably not. So let's put Sice down here in the avoid category next to Trippier. We've got Kamada here. I think I've got to have to put him in, you know, somewhere in the meh category. Maybe just around there. I think he's going to start. I think, you know, if you're going to go for a Japan player, it still has to be Kamada. I know he hasn't scored any fantasy points yet, but there's no time like the present. He is getting in the dangerous areas. He is making passes. He is taking shots on. He's doing a lot of good stuff that we like. You know, when we're looking at fantasy games, we want to see a player not necessarily scoring or assisting, but at the very least, getting in the right positions, getting close, and that way we can predict who is going to be the next player to score fantasy points. And Kamada looks like a player who could be next up to score some fantasy points. He's very, very cheap. Unfortunately, Croatia is a pretty difficult game, and it's impossible to pick a Japan player, really. It's so hard. A lot of them are listed as forwards. A lot of them are serious rotation risk. Kamada is kind of the best of a bad bunch, because in fantasy terms, Japan have been a real nightmare to pick from. They really have, even though they're playing so well. Modric up next. Let's put him in. We'll do some Croatia players. Do we think that Croatia are going to beat Japan? Possibly, but I am going to put Modric fairly low. At 8.5 million is very expensive, and we found that Modric is playing in some quite deep positions. So if you're going to go for a Croatia midfielder, Perisic is actually a player I really like the look of much more than Modric. I'm also going to put in Sosa here as well. I'm actually going to put him fairly high for some interesting reasons. Now, let me kind of try and explain this one. I'm going to put him in the great option category. I think there's a chance of a clean sheet against Japan. I think there's a good chance that Croatia go through against Japan. That's going to be a kind of a tough one to call, but you know, it's very, very possible. But the great thing about Sosa is he's only 3.5 million. And as we move further on in the tournament, we are really going to need as much spare budget as we can, as our team is kind of, you know, more and more restricted to, you know, Spain's and France's and Brazil's. These players are so expensive, so we're going to have to cut some corners somewhere. We're going to have to get some cheap players somewhere. Even if they are knocked out of the tournament, it's going to be useful to have cheap players, even if they just waste away on your bench, just so you can free up the budget to spend on the rest of your team. So many good reasons to like Sosa for all of those reasons, really. Heung-min Son, fantastic player, fantastic pass to see his team through, but he's going to be an avoid for me. I really cannot see... I really cannot see Korea going ahead and beating Japan, to be honest. So I'm going to have to put Son really quite low, to be honest. And, you know, a waste of a forward slot maybe. And Son, you know, he hasn't fully been there. You know, he hasn't been... well, he hasn't been scoring, obviously. You know, it's just not quite enough for the money that you pay and the fact that you are pretty sure that Brazil are going to beat Korea. You really feel like that's going to happen. Speaking of Brazil, let's add some Brazilian players in who will play against Korea. So Neymar, first of all, he is going to be available for the next round. He's going to be available for round of 16, which is really good to hear. But can we justify the price tag? Can we possibly choose him ahead of Mbappe and Messi? It's going to be a real differential if you are going for Neymar, but I'm going to put him in optional. I don't think he is, you know, a player who you should be confident in necessarily ahead of the likes of Mbappe and Messi. If we have unlimited budget, we'd probably go for him, but unfortunately we don't. So he is an option, but a really risky option that could send you to the moon, but it also could send you to the Mariana Trench. So we'll put him in optional. So there. That's where he's going to go. Let's add some more Brazil players in, though, because there are some other Brazil players that I really do like. So Sandro is another Brazil player that I really like the look of. I'm pretty sure he's going to be first choice for Brazil in the left-back position going into the later stages of the tournament. Brazil, at time of recording, haven't conceded a single shot on target, which is just absolutely crazy. So maybe you are going to want to go in on the Brazil defense. And another thing to note about Brazil is that they've actually got a really nice run to the final. In fact, they've probably got the easiest run to the final on paper. In football, you never know what's going to happen. But on paper, Brazil, already favourites in the tournament, have now got probably the easiest run to the final. So for that reason, Brazil, maybe we need to go all in on Brazil. Get a few Brazil players. Nice fixture in round of 16. Good run to the final. Still the favourites. Defensively solid. We like them. And finally, from Brazil, I'm going to put in Richarlison as well. So I think he's going to be a great option. I think he is probably at this moment my favourite of the, third forward slot players. The slightly cheaper forwards. Richarlison, 7.5 million. Very, very cheap. He is going to be leading the line. He is the main striker for Brazil. Got those good fixtures. Yeah, he seems like the really obvious choice for me in terms of that third forward slot. I know there are other options. You can go a little bit differential, but Richarlison, probably the top pick for me, really. If I'm going for a front line, right now, my thinking for my unlimited transfers team for Matchday 4, Mbappe, Messi, Richarlison. There are options, of course, but that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. I've got some Portugal players here. At time of recording, I don't know who Portugal is playing in the next round. It could be Switzerland or Serbia or Cameroon. I don't know. But let's put them in anyway. So Bruno Fernandes, I think he's probably a pretty good option. He's been the best midfielder of the tournament so far, a top scoring player in World Cup Fantasy as well. So it's difficult to call him anything less than a great option. The one thing that puts me off about him is his price tag. So that's the only issue with him, really. But if you're willing to spend a bit of money, then Bruno Fernandes, very nice, rested as well. Lots of very good things. Lots of very good things about Bruno Fernandes. He is doing very well, isn't he? Cristiano Ronaldo, I think we have to put him in a similar category as Kane. How do we fit him in? We can't really fit him in, can we? It's very, very difficult, especially at that price tag. And he's only scoring penalties so far in this tournament as well. Cancelo, I think, is optional. I don't think he's a must-have by any stretch of the imagination. Do I prefer him to Denzel Dumfries for a 6 million defender? Difficult to say. I don't know. Probably, maybe just about. It's really close, to be honest. So, yeah, I guess he's optional, but he's certainly not a must-have player. And then finally, guys, let's just run through some goalkeepers. I've done a couple of goalkeepers that maybe a few of you guys are thinking about getting. So, Alisson, first of all, expected to go far in the tournament, but he is very expensive, and this is the problem. So, for that reason, I'm going to put Alisson in the optional category. Maybe kind of at the lower end of the optional category, I guess, just because he is so expensive, isn't he? Maybe we can do a little bit better, go a little bit cheaper. Szczesny, top scoring goalkeeper of the tournament, is probably going to have to be an avoid. A harsh avoid? I don't know, like a mid avoid, I guess. He is going to play, but the problem is we are expecting Argentina to score a couple of goals against Poland, so maybe that is not going to go too well for him. So Szczesny is going to go in that category there. I've got Costa, who I think is, still a decent option to go for if you fancy Costa. Let's put him in the optional category, 5 million, which is very cheap. Maybe that's a slightly cheaper way of getting involved in the Portugal defence. And finally, my favourite goalkeeper to go for this next stage of the competition, and that is Noppert. I think he's a great option. I'm going to put him, I don't know. I mean, how nailed on is he in my team? Probably more nailed on than most of these players, to be honest. I'm going to put him like that. I really do think he is a great option. He could do a clean sheet against the USA is fairly likely. We're expecting Netherlands to probably progress to the next round as well, and he's only 4.5 million, so he is going to be probably the cheapest goalkeeper remaining in the tournament by matchday 5. So, or who's actually playing, I mean. So, for many reasons, he's a pretty good pick. So we're going to put him there. And that, guys, is actually going to conclude the tier list. That is what we are looking at. I think, I've probably got players mostly in the right position. Maybe things can change ever so slightly if some players are benched or rotated or get injured or stuff like that. But aside from that, I think this should give a very clear idea on who are some of the better options to go for and which players are slightly more risky there as well. I appreciate this has been a bit of a long video, so thank you for your patience. But yeah, That's my tier list. What do you think about it? Are there any players I've missed off that you'd like me to talk about? Leave a comment in the comment section and we'll talk about them as well. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like before you disappear. Subscribe if you haven't done already. We'll be doing a stream on Saturday morning-ish, well before the deadline. Well before the deadline. So make sure you join me for that stream. Notifications on. But that's it from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.